I'm Sam Harvey, and I'm here to take you inside my album Mediocracy at its finest. So I guess I'll start with Chapter 2. It is the first track on the album, and Chapter 2, I wanted it to serve as kind of an overture, really, which is the same thing I did on my first album. However, I didn't want to just call it overture, like in parentheses mediocrity. Like, I wanted it to have its own title and like its own meaning for that album, and I really like how it kind of sets the stage for the rest of the album and how it's gonna play out. Chapter 2, lyrically, I wrote down months before I had any idea of how I wanted the music to go. I actually wrote the music for it at my desk in my dorm room at college, so that was a fun experience because the whole track is basically just very simple drums and like synth pattern. It's nothing too crazy, so I just kind of wrote it one day because I was looking for a backing track. You know, the lyrics of my songs are usually the most important aspect, and I just needed something in the background to reflect the poetry of Chapter 2. I like to think of it more as a spoken word poem rather than a song, just because I'm not really carrying any melodic patterns in my voice, if that makes sense. It's more of just me talking in rhythm, and I don't want to call it rapping because I am not a rapper. I like how it opens the whole album. I think it really prepares the listener well for what I have to say next, and I really like that. The second track on Mediocracy is Ghost of My Mind, which was the first single I ever released for this album. And I will always hold a special place in my heart for Ghost of My Mind and like the original single version, because that was one of the first times that I released a song that felt whole and like complete. Because a lot of my work on What Were You Doing This Time Last Year is very acoustic and kind of representative of me in high school as a musician. And now I feel like taking things to the next level and like trying to find my sound and develop that more. And so when I released Ghost of My Mind, my friends from college were very supportive, and it was a very nice feeling to have that sort of support system. I just remember like getting a message over Instagram from this one girl that lived on my floor, and she's like, hey, like, can I promote your song? Like, I really like it. Like, you know, she was like very sweet about it. And I was like, yes, like, thank you. Like, you just made my whole night. Like, it was great. I finished Ghost of My Mind during my winter break of my freshman year of college. I was also just trying to find my home at school, and it was overall just a struggle. And Ghost of My Mind represents that time period where I was feeling lost and still kind of dealing with the hardships of a breakup, even though it wasn't necessarily like a breakup. It was still kind of a painful moment to go through, and I wanted to write about it. That storyline from Ghost of My Mind and into Burnt Out, it's a 2-song kind of story, and after that the storyline it finishes. Originally, when I wrote Ghost of My Mind, I was planning on releasing Burnt Out at the same time, like a 2-single type of deal thing. But when I finished Ghost of My Mind, I couldn't quite get the sound I wanted for Burnt Out. It didn't feel right. And I tried to listen to my gut, and I was like, you know what? One song's enough. I don't need to like break my back trying to get Burnt Out released at the same time too. Burnt Out finally came together towards the end of the album process, because I was very stuck on how I wanted the song to end, because it has this very dramatic like climax almost. It kind of has this like really dramatic build up for the bridge. Like, it's just like, I won't go down in these flames because I'm tired of playing these games over and over and over again, and there's a voicemail in there, and it's just everything's coming to that final moment, and then in the middle of a lyric it just cuts off and the whole song just kind of falls apart. There's like this brief moment of silence where it's just nothing's happening really. It's just quiet. After that, I knew I wanted music to come back in after that moment of silence, but I just didn't know how I wanted it to sound and how I wanted it to come across, because I didn't have anything left to say lyrically after that. I needed this song to reflect some sort of like emotion. And so towards the end of the album process, I finally like decided on like a synth solo and like these cool like electronic things, and then I listened to the whole thing through and it just kind of made sense. And I think it really summed up that relationship for me, like the two-song kind of storyline. You know, I had nothing left to say at that point, and I think that's just how things were left to be. And I think there's something really beautiful hidden in that.